couple of weeks ago, Dean gave a sermon where he used the phrase, God is able. And when I heard that phrase, it took my memory back to 1980, because I used that same statement, those same words almost exactly, when I was talking to God. And this is my memory. My husband was Marvin. He was a minister, and he had come home that Thursday afternoon. It was March the 6th. He had come home that Thursday afternoon and said, I don't feel so well. So he laid down, and about 2 hours later, he died from a very severe heart attack. And I was just in shock, because we thought Marvin was the healthiest one in our family, and we never expected him to be the first one to leave our family. I was just, I didn't know where to turn. We had no insurance. We had no life insurance and no health insurance. And now all of a sudden I realized we also had no income. And I had 5 children. The 2 older ones were in college, but I still had 3 at home. Laurie was 15, Terry was 13, and Michael was 6. And I was just kind of in shock the first couple of days, but about the 3rd or 4th day, I was getting frantic. I didn't know where to turn. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to get a job. So that night, after I put the 3 children to bed, I went into my bedroom and I lay down on the floor, just stretched out on the floor, and talked to the Lord. And I said, Lord, I'm lying on this floor because that's as low as I can get. And I want you to know, and of course he knew already, but I said, I want you to know that I am as low as I can be today, because I am not able to figure all these things out. I have to have a job. We need health insurance. I want to be home with my children. I don't want them to come home to an empty house. I want them to come home to a mama. And I don't know how to make it all work. But God, you are able. You are able. You are able to do way more than I could ever expect or even imagine. And I know that, and you know my heart, and you know that I know that. And so, Lord, I'm giving this to you. You said in your word, if we have a problem, give it to God. In Peter it says, if I'm anxious, give it to God. And in Psalms it says, God cares for you, and if you have a care, give it to God. So I raised my hands towards heaven and said, here, God, this is your problem. I'm giving you this problem. And boy, he took it and went with it. And just a very few days later, I had a job. I had a job with the school system that would allow me to be home when my children were home, would allow me to have summers off and holidays when they did, so that I could be home all the time, and Michael would never have to be at home by himself. Michael was a little worrier, a little 6-year-old worrier. He worried if we wanted to go someplace, he would say, do we have enough gas to get there? And I'd say, sure, Michael, we have enough gas to get there. Yeah, Mom, but do we have enough gas to get back home again? He was just worried that things were not going to go well because he didn't have a daddy. And I told him, I said, Michael, God is in control. And he said, when I went to apply for the job, he had gotten scared. He had said, Mom, what if they don't hire you? You're old, you know. I was 47. He said, you're old, they may not hire you. And I said, Michael, it's not up to them. You remember I told you we were giving this to God? We gave it to God, so it's up to God. If he wants us to have this job, if it's the right job for us, then we will get this job. And we did. And so, calmed him down a little bit. But it was a great job. We had the holidays, we had the insurance, the health insurance that we needed. It was just what I needed. And I thank the Lord for it, because it was God that did it. But God does so much more than we can expect or even think of. And God did more. He gave me more than just a job. He gave me something better, something special. He gave me people, His people. And there are so many people that wrapped their arms around us at that time. Over at Central, the Barnes, Johnny Ruth and Robert Barnes were there every time I needed something. Ray and Debbie Bomonsky, Brent's parents, were there every time I needed something. And then when we came, a year later, when we came over to A&M, so many people here, so many families wrapped their arms around us that we never felt like we had a need that we couldn't manage. I can't mention everybody's name because there were too many of the people that were just so good to us. But I have to say just a couple. Michael was 7 when we came over to A&M. And Jerry Hogan, every time there was a father-son event, Jerry Hogan would come over and adopt Michael for the night and take him on that event so that he didn't have to miss out on anything. And there were so many others that did things that way. Don and Becky Russell, if they hadn't been there, Laurie and Michael wouldn't have been able to go on all those mission trips they went on. And the Garners gave Terry a job. And there were just so many, I can't name them all, but they were God's people, and they had the love of God in them, and I love that. We actually never felt that we were poor. We didn't have a lot. My little job paid, I was school secretary. I think it started at $5,800 a year, I think. So we didn't have a lot of money, but we didn't need a lot of money because God gave us what we needed, and He gave us Aggies. We had like between 200 and 250 Aggies that loved to come to my house, and I loved to have them. They were ready to do anything I needed done, and they would work for me. I think some of the boys came because Laurie was getting a little bit older and she was really cute, but I didn't care why they came. They just came and they helped us and they loved us. And I tell you what, our Aggies are not just pretty faces and pretty singing voices. They are that, but they are also gold. They are just gold. They go all over the world spreading the good news of Jesus. And things are not always easy for them, but they come through for you. I love our Aggies. They are great. And I love our people. God gave me those people, and they have a name. Their name is church. It's our church, and I love it. I love the A&M Church. I think that they have hearts of gold and hearts for the Lord, and I'm so glad to be here. Thank you.